Hello and welcome back to Chaos Shad, where apparently I didn't save last time. I don't know. Did I just forget? It feels like a weird thing for me to forget. But I didn't see anything except my original save that I made after the first recording when I came back. So I just went back and I made saves at each of those other delusion triggers as well, like I had not done previously. So, sure. What did I do this time? I don't know. Nothing in particular, probably. Okay, so some people made comments about sort of what to expect of these triggers, these delusions, and probably the one that really, I feel like, encapsulated what made the most sense to me was someone who said, "Have you ever watched the show Scrubs? The main character in that has like daydreams all the time that are wacky and off the beaten path, and then it comes back to reality." And that, weirdly enough, I feel as though gave me a better idea of how I want to approach this. So just imagine someone who's constantly daydreaming about shit, and then positive and negative are more just, what is his current mood? For this, I feel like the direction I'd go if I was daydreaming and I was him is that he feels very intimidated. He's being basically led by a leash, by someone who feels like they want to do him a little bit of harm. Probably more negative. Kawahara cut her off. I didn't know his first name. He was in the same class as Ito and I, and he was the vice president of the student council.
いやいい。言わなくても分かってる。また例のくだらない記者ごっこだろ？それとも探偵気取りか？
I knew why he was giving me a hard time. He didn't like the fact that Kurusu was spending time with me.
別に何？川原君に迷惑はかけてないと思いますけど。
That is surprisingly gutsy for him to say.
かかってるんだよ。クルスの時間が割かれると同じ生徒会の俺たち全員にな。うるさいな。なんだって？今うるさいって言ったのか？
He must have heard that, because he came storming up to me. He tried to grab me by the collar, but I knocked his hand away. Said I grabbed his head and pulled it under my arm.
おい、離せ!
I grabbed his belt and lifted him up off the ground.
おお、ブレーンバスターか。そのまま垂直落下で落とせ、宮代。
That's probably not something anyone should be encouraging, but okay, delusion.
やめなさい。危ないでしょ。
Oh, even the delusion knows it's weirdly dangerous. Oh no, that's her. Okay. I raised Kawahara up above my head, then stood there, unmoving, for a moment. Just when I decided whether to drop him or put him down.
おい、下ろせ!
Bad choice of words. He flailed his legs toward the ceiling and tried to escape. The man didn't know when to give up. I could do a lot worse than just drop you, you know. I shifted Kawahara around in my arms and quickly moved to a position for a pile driver. Then I dropped to the ground, butt first, and slammed his head into the floor.
Steins screwdriver!
I heard an awful crunching sound. Yeah, because that's what happens when you drive a fucking head into the ground. His skull must have fractured. Just before I dropped him, I let go a little, so it didn't hit as hard as it could have. If I hadn't, he'd be dead right now.
タクル、やりすぎよ。
Really? That's your reaction? That feels like an underreaction. Curse's face was expressionless.
警察に通報するわ。
Okay, that's a better reaction.
僕が悪いんじゃない。 僕を苛立たせた川原くんが悪いんだ。
That's also ridiculous.
そんな理由で人生を棒に振ったの。あなたがそんなに愚かだったなんて知らなかった。
I watched in a daze as Kurisu called the police. Kawahara had passed out, little bubbles of foam forming around his mouth. The teachers had heard the noise and started to gather around me. I'm guessing I'm going to have to drop out of school. Yeah, that's what would happen. Sorry, I was actually hoping that would go to the point that you'd be fighting the police and, you know, suplexing them. I could beat the stuffing out of Kawahara right now if I wanted. But that would just get me in trouble. Okay. Does he actually believe that? I don't know. Yeah, this is not helping. I didn't want to ruin my life over something like that. So I decided to just not say anything to him.
お前、小中と不登校だったんだって？
I could feel my legs tense up, so I stopped. My face got hot, and without thinking, I glared accusingly at Kurisu. She quickly shook her head.
川原くん、急いでいるから。
But he kept on staring at me. Felt like he was grinning a little. It pissed me off. There's nothing I could say. I did the best I could to ignore him and turn away. I ignored what sounded like a little laugh and hurried to the club room. Skipped most of elementary and...
違うからね。
Yeah, this implies that there's some truth to it. Given his age, I don't think he seems like he's, like, an underage person in this level of, school, yeah? So... Presumably, that would imply that he, not so much that he skipped it, but like he was homeschooled or took exams to prove that he didn't need to take those and was, like, at home or something like that, I don't know. The second the three of us were alone in the club room, her expression changed. The smile plastered on the student council president's face disappeared. This is who she really was. Is she the person who put the remember to clean up and do not open thing all over? Is she gonna be that sort of a leader?
何が？
川原くんが言ってたこと。私が彼に言ったわけじゃないから。
別に気にしてないよ。
嘘。
You're a very bad liar, MC. Really, it didn't. Everything about me was different than it used to be. It clearly bothered you.
まあまあ。で、何？副部長。話があんでしょ？
Kirsu sighed and changed the subject.
タクル、あなたちゃんとご飯食べてるの？少し痩せたんじゃない？
Where is this coming from?
これからどんどん寒くなってくるでしょ？住んでるところの防寒対策とかちゃんとしてるんでしょうね。
Is this actually something? Is this actually the discussion that we're having? I'm trying to remember exactly what brought us here. Didn't have to do with some project. Crap, she was in nag mode.
進路調査、結局就職で提出したんですって？進学で提出しなさいって言ったのに、勉強できないわけじゃないんだから。
I mean, if you want to just avoid attention, the latter probably would have been a good idea too. I mean, it's not like you're obligated to follow what you tell them.
確かに今からだと厳しいけど、受験なら私が面倒見るってこれも前に言ったでしょ？
調べたの？というより話ってそれ？
どうなの？ちゃんと食べてるの？
食べてるよ。大丈夫だって。
I waved my hand to bring the conversation to a close. I didn't want this to end the way it used to, with a 6-hour lecture about how every aspect of my life was wrong, followed by hard labor as a punishment. Hard labor? Wait, he's not eating right and he has to do hard labor as a punishment? That might be a bad idea. Kurusu looked like she had a lot more to say, but a moment later...
あなた、先週の金曜日、学校サボったでしょ。
Oh, so that's what this was all about.
サボったよ。別に問題ないだろ。
あるに決まってるでしょ。どこで何してたの？ストレージにアップした画像、あれを撮りに行ってたんじゃないの？
Damn it. Figured that would be it. She was right. The pictures I'd taken from the karaoke box were last Friday, when I'd skipped school. I started staking out the place early that morning, waited for the manager of the condo building to open the curtains.
苦労したんだ。でもおかげで警察以外まだ誰も見てない現場の画像を撮れた。
こういう事件ばかり追いかけるのはやめなさいって前から言ってるでしょ。
That does seem like an unhealthy decision to make. Kurusu is the vice president of the newspaper club, and had been opposed to Ito and my journalistic ethos for a long time. We spend most of our time investigating crimes in Shibuya. Stuff like the attacks on the homeless people that have been flooding the city ever since the earthquake, and urban legends about a company involved in the rebuilding who put up tons of security cameras all around the city. That seems like that would probably be significant. And a serial arson case where the culprit had never been caught. And now these strange deaths. Huh. Well, based on the opening, I do vaguely remember the concept behind some of the rebuilding efforts made putting up cameras seem very... like it was intentional by the government? That sort of thing? If that's something to investigate, that would imply that there is no formal actual effort to put up security cameras. Then again, that would be an interesting discussion. If the government put up a bunch of security cameras to like monitor for crime or be a log for when crime happens and stuff like that, could someone get away with just adding a bunch of extra security cameras? Just like maybe in the blind spots or other areas that was just like... But no, just like no one would question it because people are expecting them and they just assume it's more the government stuff. For her part, Kurusu said that the student paper shouldn't be investigating crimes. She wrote normal, sincere articles and made normal, sincere videos. That is a fairly fair argument to make. The video about the Shibuya recovery efforts that had won a prize had been mostly her work.
タクル、今回あなたおかしい。学校をサボってまで事件を追うなんて今までなかったでしょ。
That was true. But the reason why was obvious, right? I was lucky enough to have this huge mystery right in front of me.
今回に関しては学校をサボるのもしょうがないよ。
なぜ？
だって新聞部を立ち上げてから初めて起こった渋谷での大きな事件じゃないか。こんな美味しいネタ。
美味しい？
That face is bad news. This is scary. Ito was right next to me, so I grabbed him and held him tight.
おい、縦にすんなって。え、縦なの？てか副部長、何その顔？
美味しいですって？人が死んでるっていうのに？
違います。すいません。
I'm not... That's actually sort of... I'm actually sort of on her side. Then again, I can't tell if she cares more or like cares more than him. Stay away from me. really can't handle this.
押すなって。ちょっと待って、マジで盾なの？やばい、やばい。
Faced with seriously bad news. The Empress is scary enough that she can send a demon running in terror. Never even met a demon either. That's just how scary she was.
もう一度言ってくれる？よりによってあなたが人が死んで美味しいですって？
She might be overreacting a little bit. Oh shit! I need to find some way to stop her. Apologize. And then I felt a wind rush by my ears. Huh. Well, then... That's a way to defuse the situation. At the worst possible time, the wind blew through the room. Kurisu didn't even have time to hold down her skirt. Thank you, game, for like self-censoring that. My eyes were locked with Kurisu's as I heard the sounds from the open window. I hadn't even realized it was open until then. There's a tennis court on top of the special use building. It's probably the tennis team out there. I need to say something. But was I supposed to tell her I hadn't seen anything?
副部長?
This is when you just find a nice corner to curl up in and let her do her thing. Let her handle it however she wants.
白なんですね。イメージ通りというか。
Yeah, you will be the shield. Idiot! Are you trying to get yourself killed?
私の下着の色が何色か今関係あんのか？
I mean, no, but it's interesting. I flinched at the sudden noise. I'm sorry. And then I realized, sure that the sound of Kurisu kicking the wall, or maybe the sound of her murdering Itsu, but I was wrong. It's coming from deeper inside the room. Wait, what?
あの子はまったく。
Well, that's a good way to diffuse the situation that diffused the last situation that diffused the... Okay.
和樹来てたの？和樹？そうか、ヘッドホン。
That does look like an MMO. Is that a specific MMO? I've played Final Fantasy XIV a lot over the past years, but I used to play Star Wars The Old Republic way back in the day. Not like as an MMO, I more played that as like a single-player game that happened to be an MMO back when I did. Kurisu sighed and pulled off the headphones that Kazuki always wore.
円数2でイラついたからって壁を殴るのはやめなさい。何度も言ってるでしょ。
ESO2. Empire Sweeper Online. Not Elder Scrolls Online? Okay. Seems like a fairly straightforward thing.
壁へこんでるじゃないもう。
Kazuki Hana. The only first-year student in the newspaper club. But forget her. This was my chance. As Kurisu was rubbing the red marks on Kazuki's hand, I said,
とにかく僕は事件を追う。発見があったんだ。もしかしたら大きな手がかりになるかもしれない。
Kusu glared at me for a moment, but...
おお、マジか。よし、すぐ準備する。聞かせてくれ。ぜひ聞かせてくれ。
Ito hurried over to the club's computer, desperate for any chance to escape his doom. Stared back at Kusu for a moment and then...
PC 立ち上げてストレージの画像プリントアウトしてくれ。
了解だ。
Ito's voice was louder than it needed to be as he turned on the computer. Aren't we supposed to be in class? Oh wait, no, we're preparing for the Culture Festival thing. So it's all very busy work-ish at this point.
もう殴らないこと。いい？うん。
Maybe she took pity on poor Ito because she didn't say anything else, but she still crossed her arms and glared at us as she leaned against the wall. She was at least going to hear me out, it looked like. I mean, this is just her way of making sure I didn't escape.
お前、後で飯をおごれよ。
Yeah, you guys didn't seem like you had that big of a scoop. So maybe her mentality is more that she feels like she can handle the situation. She does seem like a bit of a busybody in terms of being controlling. Let's say that.
なんで？やだよ。
盾にしやがって気まずすぎんだろ。こんなもん10-0の巻き込まれ事故じゃねえか。
Yeah, I'm with Ito. I'm always with who's ever against him. Isn't that an interesting thing about this main character? He tends to be on the wrong side of basically every single situation.
それは謝るけど、でも今回はまだマシだ。手が出なかったから。
Does she normally get violent, or are you just scared of her getting violent?
手って副部長？
I nodded. Kusu was the girl that everyone looked up to. She was actually very short-tempered. Take me more than 5 fingers, but less than 10 to count the number of times she slapped me hard. Okay, slapping is, I guess, violent, but I feel like your statement is an exaggeration if that's all you have. When I told him that,
マジか。そんな、なんていうか、ありなの？そんなことする女子高生本当にいんのか？ヒスか S っ子手前じゃん。
I've never heard of that before. Sadistic. Okay. Hysteric. Why do both of these feel probably sexist? Because there's that whole, like, sexist concept of, like, the hysteric woman and whatnot. That almost feels like it's playing into that.
ねえ、あなた方。陰口は聞こえないように言えって言われないの？
Yeah, like earlier in this whole, like, set of scenes from last time. I'm pretty sure he's the one who said it. The almost... Yeah, I don't even want to say. Didn't even bother looking at us as she spoke.
いや、そのセリフを言ったことはあるんだけどね。それもついさっき教室で。
Basically, she's supposed to be a tsundere, I presume. This seems like the impression I'm getting from the game so far.
そう。
Yet again, I feel like her like attitude of I'm so done with these people is sort of something I can get behind. And then she fell silent. She was scary as hell. Felt like if I moved, she'd kill me.
おごりだ。決定だ。大盛りにデザートだ。異論は認めん。
高校じゃん、今のは。
Stop digging the hole deeper, dumb fuck. Actually, it was 100% Ito's fault for not keeping his mouth shut. Stop digging the hole deeper, you insecure fuck. Oh my god.
なあ、
What?
見たか？見たよな。
見てないよ。
That was a lie. I saw it. They were white. Her undershirt thing had a nice little frilly thing at the bottom. I saw that. That's relevant. That was cute. I glanced at Kurusu out of the corner of my eye. I guess that really was just what you'd expect. Still, I'd only gotten a glimpse. It's entirely possible I'd been mistaken. If I burn the images in my brain now, maybe the next time something like this happened, I'd be able to react more quickly. So I prayed for more good luck. Oh my goodness. If it ever did happen again, I swore I would react as a right-sider should. What? A right-sider wouldn't panic over something as insignificant as seeing a girl's underwear. In a situation like that, it was critical that you stay calm. I don't know. The thing about our MC is that he, I feel as though it would be accurate to say that he just has horrid coping mechanisms. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, but it's sort of been a strength of mine since forever that I typically have had, I'd say, better than average, because it's hard to, compare to other people, because you're not in their shoes. I tend to think I have pretty good coping mechanisms. Partly just because of my family. Like, my family has a history of bipolar disorder, and basically everyone in my immediate family can say, yeah, we've dealt with not the disorder, I wouldn't claim I have it, but elements of it at a minor degree. So most of us have had to develop pretty good coping skills from an early age. So I'm not going to say that he should be like how I would react. And he's talking about trying to be calm and not panicking over it. When he says that, it's yeah, that's probably how most people would react. Two, it's I feel yeah, I probably react pretty calmly and take it in stride myself if something like that actually happened in real life. I don't know. There's just so much about him that feels like the opposite of me. Beyond just the whole stuff I've talked about before, I'm not getting into again. When she heard Ito turn on the printer, Kazuki trotted over like she usually did. I think I was told that generally the positive ones had more of a lewd sort of vibe to them. So, and given his very I gotta do better in the future attitude, I feel like that would make sense at the moment. Especially, I gotta do better relative to, yeah. That online game addict had the best computer skills of anyone in the club. Whenever she was around, it was her job to run searches and organize the information on the PC, but...
Kazuki, 手伝わなくていい。この件については部の活動と認めてないから。
Katsuki gave us a questioning look.
そうなんだ。
Katsuki just said, like she always did, and walked away.
Hora, Kazuki, まだ手赤いわ。もっとさすってあげるから。
Kazuki obediently walked over to Kurisu. Well, this has entered interesting territory. Kurisu took her hands and rubbed them gently, like a mother would.
痛かったでしょ？どうしてそんな無茶をするの？どう？まだ痛い？痛いの痛いの飛んでけカズキどうしたの？急に抱きついて。もう甘えん坊さんなんだから。もしかして私がしばらく部室に来られなかったから寂しかったの
？She is very articulate.
じゃあわからないわ。ほら、私の目を見てちゃんと答えてね。うん。寂しかったんでしょ？違う？うん。照れちゃって可愛いのね。ごめんね、寂しい思いさせて。でも安心して、今日はずっと和樹と一緒にいてあげるから。私もあなたと一緒にいられて嬉しい。手の痛みはもう引いた？まだ？じゃあとっておきのおまじない。
Kazuki watched with a look of ecstasy in her eyes, as Kurusu softly kissed her fingers. Felt like I was seeing something I shouldn't, so I looked away.
和樹の指、細くてとっても綺麗。
おい、何ぼんやりしてるんだ？
Because I'm horny, damn it.
宮代？
いや、別に。
Is it just... maybe it's just me, but I do feel as though the, at least so far, the positive ones have been notably less interesting. If just relative to the negative ones. I chased a stupid idea out of my mind. Kurusu was nice to everyone, and even girls like Kazuki who couldn't communicate with others. Of course, in reality, Kurusu and Kazuki had never done anything like that, and they never would. I totally want to see her now, just throughout the entirety of the game, to never say anything other than, Kazuki put her headphones on and went back to the corner of the room. Started slamming keys again. Did we interrupt a raid or something? I don't know. I never did know how to talk to her. Actually, it felt like it had been forever since I'd ever spoken to her. If you recall this conversation, that is. She'd been a part of the newspaper club for 6 months, and all I knew about her was that she liked games, knew a lot about computers, and hated talking. In the end, Ito printed out the pictures, and I took them and went in front of the bulletin board before Kurusu changed her mind. I see what's-her-face from the beginning. Well, the beginning of this perspective. With Miss Empress over there. Harder to see some of those other ones in the corner. Well, if Kurusu's going to listen, it was probably better to start at the beginning. She didn't seem interested in the cases, but if I ignored her and made her even madder, even using Ito Shishio wouldn't be enough to save me.
今僕らが追っている事件は2つ。まず1つ目は今月の7日に起きたニコニア生放送公開自殺事件、通称こっちみんな。場所はここ神南。事件の内容は名前の通り、ニコニア動画で生放送していた男が放送中に突然自殺した。
So the police are aware that someone visited his room. Interesting. So they are actively aware that someone had entered his room. Okay.
厳密に言うと完全に自殺と決まったわけじゃないんだけど、死んだ時の状況からそう言われてる。
That does give the impression that it was real people that were there, too. Not like some delusion of his.
名前は大谷優馬、21歳。俺氏、未来が見えてしまう件についてっていう預言者もどきみたいな放送を定期的にやって、結構アクセス数を稼いでいたニア生主。 でその状況だけど、まず放送中に大谷氏はコメントを設ける時間をとって一旦カメラ前から姿を消す。その後ドアがノックされて誰かが来たらしい音をわずかだけどマイクが拾ってる。聞き取れないけど何かを話す声も。そしてカメラ前に戻ってくると右腕が半分なくなってた。細かく切断されて自分が持ってきた皿の上に乗ってたんだ。そしてその指を自分で食べた。まるで痛みを感じていない素振りで。
Are you not aware of the situation? I guess you must just be vaguely aware that something bad happened and people died. She probably hadn't known that. The suicide had been big news even on TV, so she'd probably seen it there, but the details had been so horrific that the news hadn't broadcast them. That is surprisingly responsible of the news. Like, the news is super important, but let's be real, there's enough, let's call it drive for profit, that decisions like that are normally made for whatever will drive ratings, not, you know, responsible stuff. Like, when, like, school shootings or other serial killer stuff, when they, like, broadcast the names of them, when a lot of those people are looking for that sort of intention, and it sort of maybe promotes more of that sort of stuff in the future simply because the news is giving them what they wanted, that sort of attention. But still. But those details could be found anywhere on the internet. It was only a matter of time before someone started putting it all together. Right, because basically all of that was in the stream itself. It was broadcast already. The video itself had started to get around.
そして少し経ってからいきなり苦しみ出して死亡した。見ていた人は事件として発覚するまでいたずらか何かだと思っていたみたい。
出血性ショック死な。警察の発表でもそうなってたし、混沌するまでの時間を考えても間違いない。
Ito added. Ito knew more about this stuff than I did. He was a fan of bizarre murders. Interesting hobby. And he'd read 10 times as many killers' diaries and non-fiction crime books as I had.
何らかの理由で精神が錯乱した上での自殺って見解が濃厚らしいけど、警察は自殺の直前に部屋を訪ねてきた誰かを探しているらしい。もしかしたら自殺幇助や自殺教唆の疑いがあるんじゃないかって。
In Japan, if you saw someone trying to kill themselves and didn't intervene, it wasn't a crime unless the police could prove that you wanted them to die. But aiding in a suicide, or encouraging someone to commit suicide, was illegal. I mean, if you want to be technical about it, I think it was technically murder because one of them went over and helped him cut off his arm, rather than straight up suicide. What would that technically count as? That's sort of a good question. That meant the police were probably looking for whoever met Utani before his death. Kurusu was silent, but she was looking at the board and seemed to be listening. Seems safe. On to the next case. This is the one I'm curious about.
2つ目は19日に起きた事件。死体の状況から音漏れ炭っていう通称がついてる。場所はここ、深セン。
This is not just the one I'm curious about, this is the one that makes me most sad. Oh.
名前は高柳桃音、20歳。ニコニアの歌ってみたの歌い手で、最近ネットで有名になってきてるアニメソングのコピーバンドのボーカル。
Oh my god. Oh. That first sentence of the case details. Blood loss after having a speaker implanted in her stomach. Is that the same day? Was it the 17th or 19th that we had that scene before? Oh my goodness. traveled along the roads, the speaker inside her stomach, continually played a recording which said, "Stay and listen for a while." A fan of hers said she had something special that just drew you in. It's a shame. That's unfortunate. Oh, that's so unfortunate, especially after what her plans were going forward.
復興祭のステージで歌うことも決まってた。
So that's interesting, because the, what's his face? The one who died before this, the streamer. I don't think there's that sense of irony as much to how he died. This one feels really sort of like you'd have to go out of your way to kill them in that way.
バンドの派手な衣装を着たまま一人でストリートライブもしていて、晴れの日は毎日決まった場所、決まった時間で演奏していたらしい。その日はいつもの場所にかなり遅刻して現れてライブを始めた。だけど何か様子がおかしかった。声が小さくていつもの感じじゃなかったらしい。そして結局ライブの最中に死亡した。こっちも失血死。ライブを始める前からお腹を刺傷していたんだ。
I'd say notably too that based on the description there, the fact that there was like that noise constantly coming out, especially also with that visual, that seems like a distinctly different person than that other woman that we saw a visual of just like walking along the sidewalk in the beginning section before we took this perspective of the main character. So that's a third situation, whatever that was.
妙なのがやっぱり遺体の状況で。糸、再生してくれ。
おう。
Ito tapped a few keys on the computer's keyboard, and a moment later, Kurusa looked confused when she heard the sound. Evidently, she wasn't able to make it out.
ああ、そっちじゃなくて渋谷ニュースが音声いじってアップしてくれた方。
ああ、そっちだよな。
マジで死んでるって。マジで死んでるって。救急車呼べって。
ありがとう。ゆっくりしていってね。ありがとう。ゆっくりしていってね。ありがとう。ゆっくり。
Her expression changed. She must have been able to hear it this time.
ありがとう。ゆっくりしていってね。常連のお客さんによれば、いつも彼女はこの一言からストリートライブを始めていたんだって。
Interesting. When was it, started videos at Nikuniya. Okay. So it's just a common phrase from her, like, you know, like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't want to get sucked into this rabbit hole. But still,
ニアドユーザーだからな。なんでも歌ってみたの歌い手の中では彼女のライブが一番だって最近評判だったらしいぞ。
Kurusa seemed to be ignoring me and Ito. She's staring at the computer screen that was the source of the sound.
今のは
悲鳴は死体を発見したお客さんたちのもの。動画で撮っていた人がいたんだ。で、今のは高柳さん自身の声で。お腹に埋め込まれていた小型のスピーカーから聞こえてきたんだ。
Yeah, I already read that because you put it up on screen, on the map. Kurusa seemed confused, so Ito interjected.
つまり その日のライブは最初から録音されたものだったんだよ。
後で発見された証拠によると、彼女はコンビニで売ってるカッターで自分で自分の腹を裂いて Bluetooth のスピーカーを埋め込んだらしい。ガムテープで止血とも呼べない適当な応急処置をした後、着ている服と衣装でその傷を隠してライブを始めたんだ。
Yeah, that feels like for so many reasons that wouldn't work. Yeah, she had talked about doing, like, hiding a speaker under her clothes, and this was a whole idea of hers, and there's no way whoever showed up didn't, like, fuck with her head to make her think that it was a good idea to do it that way.
最初は録音した自分の声に合わせてギターを弾いていたらしいんだけど、途中からは歌声だけになった。
There is an interesting element to these that both of them feel like, based on what we saw from the perspective of them actually, the lead up and happening of both these deaths, that whatever happened to cause them to be like this seemed to at least partially prey, and maybe this is the only reason they had to do it in such a weird way for this one, seemed to at least partially prey on the idea of them doing something they wanted to do, that they were intending to do. Like they had their reality warped to a point that it seemed like a good idea. Like, the first guy was wanting to cut the cheese. The second girl wanted to hide her actual voice and use a speaker to give performances that were live and stuff like that. That was her idea before seemingly anything else went down. It is interesting that both of them are like that. I wonder if that's some sort of restriction that they might have on whatever these people are doing in order to silence these groups. And I'm still sort of of the opinion that I think what's happening is probably some group that's using these people to some extent, and they're actively going after them, basically. Like they've had their use. I'm basing this more on the fact that what's-his-face, the first streamer guy, said something along the lines of, I recognize these people. They helped me get into this information brokering sort of business. He mentioned that before. And then they show up as soon as he feels like he's at a place where he's making a bunch of money, making a public persona in a way that might go against that other sort of idea. It's almost like they both had a part to play, and they either were rebelling against it in a way that they didn't even realize they were rebelling against it. And as soon as that happened and they were committed to this other path or went too far, they decided to kill them. And how they did it was that they had to force them into doing it in a way that they believe they are doing something they wanted to, basically. Which shows a sign of a limitation at the very least.
それからはうつむきっぱなしだったみたいだから、その時にはすでに死亡してたんじゃないかな。だけどお客さんは様子がおかしいとは思いながらも気づかずにずっと聴き続けて、彼女のポケットに入れていた携帯音楽プレイヤーが傷から流れた血液で壊れたのか、最初からそういう設定だったのか。とにかくさっきの音声トラックがリピート再生されるまで死んでいるとは気づかなかった。
Kurtz's face was a mixture of confusion and discomfort. Of course it was. She never heard of something like this. I can hold back my excitement.
な、すごいだろ。
Don't. That is, especially the second one's just freaking depressing. Instead of agreeing, Kurtz's brow furrowed. She probably didn't realize it, but she wrapped her arms around herself. Yeah. That does feel like the sort of thing that would, if it actually happened, would give you the chills. What was wrong? Was that a little too creepy?
で？ここまでは単にこれまでの事件の整理だろ？発見ってのは？
Oh, yeah, he was right. I used a computer to print out a series of pictures.
当然だけど両方とも事件の目的はわからない。今のところ唯一の不審人物である大谷氏の部屋を訪ねてきた人間が 何者で何を考えて何を話したのかも見当がつかない。
So what's the connection you... Okay, let's stop that
でも
printer.
僕はこの妙な事件はまだ続くと思う。被害者の共通点からの推測でしかないけどね。
は？マジか？
Issa left out of his chair in shock. Let's shut up this printer, it's getting annoying. Well, I can blame him.
共通点に関しては散々話し合ったろ。分かったのは渋谷に住んでることとニア道のユーザーだったこと。あとはまあ2人ともある程度の知名度があって自殺した状況が異常だってことくらいか。でもそんなもんじゃそれ以上のことは何も見えてこなかっただろう。
気づかないか？別の共通点。
I pointed towards the bulletin board as I spoke. Ito looked really annoyed.
偉そうにしよってからに。そもそもこっちの気を引くようにプリントアウトしてるやつはなんだ？
One of the best parts of finding something like this was seeing the angry look on his face. Okay, that feels like a weird thing to take pleasure in. Well, it was only yesterday that I found out myself, though.
じらさなくていいから。何を見つけたの？
Curiosity beckoned for me to go on. No matter what she said after hearing all this, she probably wanted to know what came next. I mean, I'd be curious too. Even if a little distraught at the pleasure my associates were taking in it if I was her. That printer's really annoying, but I don't know what would be a connection. They didn't mention if the police were pursuing, and I don't think the little note card did either, if the police were pursuing the second one as a suicide as well. Oh, it's done printing. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, now I can stand back and actually take more of an actual guess as to what he's thinking. So, I mean, his previous words already sort of imply that he has a belief that the, see, is there a log? There's a log, yeah, backlog. He did say, we don't know what the motive is. The one suspect we've got is whoever visited his room. We don't know who they are, what they wanted, or what they were talking about. His impression seems to imply that he believes those people are involved in the other one, despite there being no evidence of that. Even in his recollection of the events, doesn't seem to imply anything that involves other people being involved in the second one. So either that's just an assumption that he's making based on an assumption that they're connected and those people are involved somehow, or maybe that's connected to what he's thinking. Great interruption. Kazuki suddenly stood in front of me. She offered me the printed images without a word.
ありがとう。
Has she been standing around being interested in this topic as well? Then she offered me something else. A lollipop. Oh, what? It's not the one she was eating, is it? Oh, wait. Is it the face thing? Did he come to a realization about the face thing? Because that was the whole thing before, too, right? Huh, like the stickers. I guess we'll see.
Huh? くれるの？
She nodded.
どうも。
Kazuki seemed to be communicating in her own unique way. She walked over to the bulletin board and tapped the data printouts on the two cases with her finger.
和樹、どうした？
I'm guessing she figured it out, but she doesn't speak words, so... She did it again. I saw the part she was pointing at and nodded.
そう。日付だよ。7日、19日。
There. Well,
共通点。9月7日と9月19日。渋谷で発生した異常な事件。わかるだろ？
nope. I kept looking at Ito. Usually he'd be the one to pick up on this. A second later.
Oh.
He froze. He must have figured it out.
猟奇マニアのお前ならわかるだろ。
I pinned the images I just printed out onto the bulletin board's map.
9月7日集団ダイブ。9月19日妊娠男。9月29日貼り付け。10月10日ヴァンパイア。10月23日ノータリン。10月28日うまい手。11月4日ドキュンパズル。
ニュージェネレーションの狂気。
Okay. A lot of that has no meaning to me. Let's see. Generation Madness. The name of a series of brutal serial killings that took place between September 7th and November 4th in Shibuya. In all, 14 people were killed across 7 incidents. The name New Generation Madness was created by the media at the time, in reference to both the bizarre nature of the killings and the way the youth of Shibuya seemed to welcome and enjoy them. The dates and names of the murders are the 7th, the 19th, the 29th, 10th, 23rd, 28th, 4th. Okay. I definitely don't think I could have guessed this. That's interesting. Albeit at the same time, that also feels like a stretch. Yep. 6 years ago, in 2009. A series of strange deaths that occurred just before the earthquake that struck Shibuya on November 6th. Oh. Before the earthquake. Huh. They became famous for the words left by the killer. Whose eyes are those eyes? Okay, but that's an actual link between those. They called the killings the New Generation Madness. The murders took place in Shibuya, but the whole country took an interest in them. At the time, I was in 6th grade, and just like a lot of people, I followed every new development on the internet.
日付が6年前の事件とぴったり一致してるんだ。事件も自殺っぽいっていう内容はともかく、猟奇的だという点で同じ。
Right, but you just said that there was an actual message that was left on those, yeah? Is there any sort of thing even remotely similar in this case? I mean, the immediate reaction is the idea that this earthquake came later on. Would be the idea that maybe it's some, I don't want to say ritual, but a ritual to set up some other side effect. And whoever did it the first time may have done it unintentionally or something else like that. And maybe someone else knows what happened and is trying to recreate it?
偶然でしょ。
Could be. We only have 2 examples. It's definitely a weak enough argument that I have a hard time imagining the police going after it. Then again, it might be strong enough for them to just, take it as a lead if they have nothing better, basically. Kuruso's acting a little strange. Her arms clutch her torso even tighter.
副部長
Maybe it was because of all the creepy pictures she'd seen. Kuruso was clearly shaking. She does seem to be reacting a bit stronger than you'd expect. Maybe she has some personal connection to the previous events?
何でも関連づけて大きくしたがるのはやめなさい。2つたまたま一致しただけでしょ。
Like I said, it's weak. It's a weak argument, but it's also one that's not disproven. Coincidence would be likely, but not necessarily something you can rule out at this point. Given the fact that it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen, it's pretty easy to prove either way.
偶然かそうではないかすぐにわかるよ。ニュージェネ第3の事件が起こったのは9月29日。つまり
Do we have a date for the culture festival? Why do I feel like that's going to fall in one of those days?
今日だ。
Wait, oh, that's today?
もし今日渋谷でまた妙な事件が起こったらその時は間違いない。 偶然が3つ続くなんて放っておける要素じゃないだろ。
Well, no, but... A phone rang. It was mine.
はい、もしもし。
事件だ。いや、事故？とにかくタクの言う通りのことが起きたかもしれないんだよ。
I could feel my heart starting to race as she spoke. Okay, that's probably... Oh, that's probably a good place to end it on that nice little cliffhanger. A love hotel. Okay, well, interesting. I would call it a trend at 3. I wouldn't call it not coincidences. You could have a trend of coincidences. But it is very interesting. From a narrative point of view, they're definitely going to be connected. I feel as though if we went this route and they brought up all this and it ended up not being connected, that would be interesting, but very unlikely in how stories are tend to be told, so... Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just going to leave it there for today, so I'll see you all next time. Drive safely, everyone.